Hello, so today we have a guest named Holland, also known as the Aquarium Girl, and she's going to answer some questions about her experience rescuing betta fish. Holland has rescued over 80 betta fish since 2019, most of which she did during her time as a college student. Her rescue of a betta named Bongo was featured on the YouTube channel, The Dodo, where she shows how she helped him recover from extreme pet store neglect and illness. She's currently caring for 7 bettas, and she uses social media to highlight rescue stories and offer guidance and resources. So thank you for setting aside some time to speak with us today and answer some questions. So are the bettas that you rescue all from pet stores, or have you gotten them from other places like Craigslist or like a friend that was moving?
Normally I will get them from pet stores, but I have in the past rescued a couple from friends that no longer want their fish. I don't use Craigslist because I do find it to be very sketchy, so I don't think I would want to meet up with somebody. I do go, rescue hunting in stores, and if someone did need me to take a fish in, like someone that I know personally, I would be happy to do that.
So is it like Petco, PetSmart, these big pet chains?
Yeah, the pet chains, all of the above. The big chain ones in my area.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you go to like a Petco, are you guaranteed to find a sick betta, or is it kind of like less predictable?
There I can count on one hand the amount of times that I haven't found one.
Mhm.
But it is varying degrees of sickness. So sometimes I will find 50, 60 really sick bettas that like haven't been cared for at all pretty much and are just like completely being neglected in stores. Or sometimes I'll find um one or two that have like mild fin rot. Like it depends on the store and how well they take care of them.
When you find a sick betta fish at the stores, what happens typically when you approach the staff?
So usually I do test the store, and I ask them, with a fish that's mildly sick or something, I'll say, hey, like I noticed this fish is sick. Is there any way that I can take that fish off your hands and treat the fish? Usually, I would say in 90% of cases, they will just take it right out of my hands and say they're going to treat it in the back. I don't know what happens to those fish. I don't know if they live. I don't know if they die. I don't really know. Usually I won't see that fish again. I used to frequent a particular store and I would never see the fish again. I don't particularly know if there's a policy in like each brand of store that like is an overarching policy, and like some of them are breaking it in order to give people the sick fish, or if they individually have policies. But yeah, a lot of times they have a policy where they don't give out sick fish, which is fine. I just usually just buy the fish, which I know is controversial, but I don't think that any fish deserves to be left behind, because it's an animal, and I don't think that just because it's sick it deserves to go in the back to be treated by somebody who probably doesn't know how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we see them as individuals that are suffering, but they see them as merchandise. And so it's like when you buy them, you are sort of like supporting that and supporting them, their neglect, but it's also very difficult to walk away from them. How do you navigate that? Something we sort of talked about before was like maybe saying, well, I'll take a picture of this and post it on social media and tag you. If people are going to rescue them, they can't be benefiting from it. Would just be a continued cycle. If anyone has comments or thoughts about it, we're just having a conversation. When you look for sick bettas at the store to rescue, do you make any preparations before you bring one home?
Yeah, so I have little hospital bins. They are just a standard like little tub, and I put a heater in it, and I just wait for the water to warm up. Most of the time I do prepare beforehand, but there have been a couple of times when I haven't had time to prepare because I've brought home a fish that, was in desperate need of some help, and I have just picked up this fish. So yeah, so usually I will prepare, but like it's not like I'm preparing something massive. It's just a little tub. It's easy. I find that it's easier to treat them in a small tub, just because I don't have to spend as much money on medication. I'm not treating a giant tank, so I'm treating something much smaller. It's also easier for fish with like swim bladder issues or any type of mobility issues, which a lot of them do end up having because of fin rot or any of that kind of stuff. They end up having a mobility issue. So it's I find it easy to keep them in these little tubs.
Do you have cycle tanks also, like prepared for later to transfer them?
So usually I won't rescue. So right now I'm very full. Like I have all of my tanks are filled right now. But yeah, usually unless there's a rescue that is in absolute dire need and I can't leave them behind, I usually won't even walk into a chain pet store unless I have an empty space.
How much fish keeping knowledge and experience did you have before you started to rescue betta fish?
Beforehand, I had kept fish in high school, middle school, all of that time in my life, I had kept fish. And even when I was a child, I began my rescuing journey and had treated a couple of sick fish before. Like, it's not like my fish were getting sick left and right in high school, but I had treated a couple of sick fish before and didn't really have anywhere close to the experience that I have now.
What are the biggest drawbacks of rescuing betta fish?
Well, I think number one, when when it doesn't go as planned and you do end up with a dead fish, that's obviously not ideal. It's a horrible thing to have to emotionally handle, seeing like fish death, animal death. It's something that I don't think that I'm ever going to fully come to terms with, but it's something that has probably gotten easier, I think, as time has gone by. I do have a lot of guilt, especially with leaving them in pet stores, which is why I never go into pet stores, because I'm, when you walk in the fish aisles, you see it, you're inevitably going to see a betta. So when you see one and it's sick, you can't, like, for me at least, I can't sleep at night, so I have to take it home. And I do end up taking home occasionally a betta that I shouldn't take home. I don't have space for, and I have to make do with what I have available. Which I mean, to be quite honest, it's better than nothing for that betta. Like, but it's still not the way that you should handle rescuing. And then also just time and like having the space and energy to take care of 8 fish tanks. That's a lot of work. Or I guess seven bettas and then 8 fish tanks because I have a community tank. But it's a lot of work. Rescuing is a lot of work too, because you are treating fish, you're measuring stuff, you're if you have never seen the illness before, you're doing research, you're talking to people, you're asking people questions about, I've never seen this before, have you seen this, what can I do? You're going to the store to get new medication, you're ordering stuff. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of money. I do spend a lot of money on fish supplies. It's been a huge financial burden, but when you're in college, it's tough, but I mean, for me, it was doable.
What are the most rewarding aspects of rescuing bettas?
I think, well, I mean, everyone saw on the bongo video, just seeing them kind of blow up. I think watching their personalities come out, I really do love seeing like the before and after photos of my bettas and other people's bettas that they have rescued. Another thing that I do find to be very exciting is when I do put a fish, because when I do put a fish in a new tank, because when I first get a Betta, they've only lived in a cup or a small tank or a jar or something. When you put them in the rescue tank, it's a bigger tank and it's exciting for them. And then, but you know, it's still not large enough for them. It's not enough space for them. And then when you put them in a real tank with plants and, you know, hiding spots and, you know, all the things that they would ever want, it's just amazing watching them explore. It's I've never seen anything that makes me so happy. It's amazing. I really do love it.
For people who may be inspired by you, do you have any tips on how to get started?
I will be starting a Patreon very soon that will be featuring information about how to rescue a Betta and how to take care of minor diseases and minor illnesses, and what supplies you need and all of that stuff. So I will be starting something like that very soon, but I would say just make sure you have all of the supplies that you really need to take care of a Betta, and make sure that you have, you know, a tank for them to go in afterwards. Don't be like me. Don't be an impulsive rescuer. And especially for your first time, that's a huge, very important fact. Do your research, and yeah, and another thing that a lot of people do tend to forget, make sure you cycle your tank. You don't want a dead fish on your hands when you first get it. That's, you know, I feel like I'm telling people that every day on Instagram. Cycle your tank, cycle your tank. It's super important. So that's very important. But just make sure you do your research. Start with something easy like fin rot or something like that, and then work your way up to something maybe a little harder. And just, you know, once you had some success and you understand how to use the medications, then like it all just kind of clicks into place, and you know, you become a rescuer. So.
And thank you so much. And you are really a great resource for people to learn from and definitely be inspired by. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and share your experience.
Yeah, so I'm so happy to reach out to or if anyone reaches out to me, I'm really happy to talk to anyone about, information about Bettas or anything else that they have questions about, any fish medication or anything. I'm really happy to help with that, and I'm happy to be a resource for anyone.